Welcome in. Thanks so much for joining me. In this episode, I would like to discuss, I guess, one of the core practices for me, insights that I work with on a regular basis. I'll also say this is probably one of the tougher practices for me personally. I'm not sure if it will be for you, but I thought to offer it up as a topic that we can discuss a little bit. And so the idea here is that our pain, dissatisfaction, discomfort, whatever word you want to use to describe it, is a portal into developing tenderness. So first, I want to make the case for tenderness, because some of you who clicked here might wonder, well, what is tenderness and why do I need it? And so tenderness to me is it's a felt response. It's deeply connected to the practice and embodiment of compassion and loving kindness, especially on the Buddhist path. And, as someone who, me, who has struggled to kind of allow emotion to meet my feeling world, sensations and emotions, without analysis or intellectual sort of overthink on top of them, accessing more tenderness, realizing that tenderness is not necessarily going to kill me, that it's actually going to allow my life to become fuller, richer. It's going to allow me to connect with others more. It's going to allow me to develop, compassion and loving kindness on the Buddhist path with more skill and availability. Those recognitions took time. And I'll say, depending on the day, that recognition may not be there for me, right? If I'm having a real tough day, I'm not thinking, how can I be more tender with this difficulty? I'm usually thinking, get me out of here, get this far away from me. But either way, over the years, I've come to really, how do you say it? Yeah, just have some more conviction that when there's a painful emotion, painful experience, when there's discomfort, that there's also a doorway there, a portal. There's a whole journey of life to be had there. And I just want to say, probably, just because usually I have pretty diverse listeners to my podcast and YouTube channel, that, we're all going to be at different places with this. And I'm not implying you need to be with like the most intense, overwhelming discomfort in your life right now. It could just be it could be something as simple as just, I don't like the temperature. The temperature in the room is making me uncomfortable. And it doesn't mean you don't turn on the air conditioning or the heat. It just means you look at that experience and you intend to work with that experience as a portal into tenderness, right? And there's all different kinds of levels of tenderness. On the Buddhist path, the Buddha really is recommending initially that we try to understand the different layers of what we call dukkha, which gets translated as pain or dissatisfaction or uncomfort sometimes, or discomfort. And there's a reason for that, because it's not only a gateway into understanding life and where we might find more well-being, but it's also a gateway into developing this tender heart that can develop into the compassion, love, and connection we share with and for others. So it's a big one. And I've noticed in my life, without kind of leaning into that type of tenderness, often any kind of compassion or loving kindness I'm trying to cultivate, it's very heady. It's not so embodied. It's more of an ideal, I guess you could say, which is fine. But as I already said, that's been a struggle for me to kind of embody that, make that more available in a real way. I can't exactly point out what tenderness means to you, because you're going to have to explore that. But for me, it's a feeling not of being broken down, but of being broken open. And that distinction is really key for me in my personal practice in life, where when I'm breaking down, I'm actually, cocooning further into my ego clinging and self-absorption, which is a source of pain for me. And of course, the Buddhist path would say it's our main source of pain. I'm not only doing that, but, I'm creating more walls around me, more rigidity. I'm feeling less connected with others around me and in the world. Whereas when I'm breaking open, there's a sense of relationship. There's a sense of a willingness, an acceptance, and sometimes even appreciation for the challenges that arise for me, both in my emotions and body, as well as, physically in the body, as well as just life experiences and communication with others and things like that. Ups and downs. And so to me, breaking open is this element of like realizing and acknowledging, yes, this is painful. I don't need to ignore this. I don't need to fight or resist this. I just need to learn to be with it. And specifically for me, learning to be with it more in the body, in the feeling world, right? That's why I'm advocating that so much for those of you who share some of my challenges as well. And from there, the openness can start to develop. So there's a break, right? Which is breaking with the dynamic of trying to fix, control, corral every single painful situation, or avoid is also a form of control, right? So not doing that, and instead the break is, breaking that habit and actually meeting the experience. And that's where the openness comes from. Hence why I'm saying breaking open rather than breaking down. And I often use those words interchangeably. I use the words tenderness and openness interchangeably. So again, if one of those words, sits better for you, go for it, right? So if openness feels more positive, use that word. But essentially for me, they really function as the same thing. But tenderness, along with openness, also has this element of connection. It has this element of softness around the edges, not only towards my own experience in life and emotions, etc., but also just towards others around me. So it opens us not just to our own life and, not immediately trying to avoid or, go into stress anxiety mode with something. So it obviously offers that, but it also offers this ability to meet the world and what's going on around us with more space, right? Of course, with more heart and more tenderness, but tenderness also, in my experience, this kind of tenderness or openness I'm describing, it doesn't mean we're like, I don't know, that we lack courage or that we're increasing our sensitivity so we can't see the horrors that go on in the world around us. No, it actually increases our compassion to meet those experiences. So this is where I think it has so much benefit, using our own discomfort, pain, dukkha, whatever you want to call it, as a portal or doorway into tenderness. I actually think it's also just really needed now because we're such an interconnected world. We find out almost immediately via the internet what's happening halfway around the world, and not only can this create a lot of stress and anxiety for us, because we're seeing the suffering of others, but also sometimes we don't know how to handle that, and we break down in different kinds of ways. So my take is to always move towards our reaction to something, right? So if we objectify it, that this is happening out there to these people, etc., really it kind of becomes a mess quickly in our emotions and mind. And I don't think it helps. Well, it doesn't help me to develop tenderness and openness. But instead, if I meet my reaction, right, which is the pain, that's the pain I'm experiencing, not the pain others are experiencing, but I meet my own pain, it actually helps me to open to others in a different way with a little bit more courage. And this is where I think it's deeply connected to the principle of compassion, because compassion is not weakness. It has courage in it, right? Courage to meet ourselves, courage to meet the pain of others and the world around us. And then, of course, like courage to do the hard work of helping ourselves and others. That's where that's where we need the courage, because that takes time often. For depending on the issue, usually solutions are not, I don't know how you say, solutions take time and they're complex. So I feel we need both the softness and tenderness that's connected with compassion, and the courage that comes with it. So how do we do this? Right? I'm talking kind of theory and my own experience here. Really how I do this is through any kind of awareness practice, meditation that helps me to connect with the feeling in my body, helps me to connect with the sensation or reaction, as a feeling. I mean, of course, connecting with our thoughts and ideas and all that is fine. But for me, usually it doesn't allow that much of a doorway into tenderness. A little bit, because I can sort of have an insight through reflection or thinking about something, and then that can open the heart a little bit. But for me, it has to be also connected to the body, my emotions, my sensations, reactions, energetically in the body. So I recommend that. And both on my YouTube channel, on my podcast in general, any episode, different episodes of that, you can just search those and you're going to find a lot of content, different guided meditations related to somatic practice, working with the feeling world, etc. And so, I recommend checking that out if you want to, if you're kind of new to what I'm talking about and you want some more support or guided meditations. Also on my website, there's a bunch of free guided meditations on there if you want to check that out. So anyways, I'll leave it here. Would love to hear how this is resonating with you. As always, feel free to comment, reach out. And as always, if I can support you, I'm happy to do that. If there's other resources I can point you to that might be more aligned with what you need, I'm also happy to do that. So thanks so much for listening and or watching this. And hope to see you soon. Take care.